The gardens of the Galactic Council stretched like a ribbon of life around the massive station's equator. Through its transparent dome, the light of 3 suns painted ever-shifting colors across beds of flowers from 1,000 worlds. Ambassador Sarah Chen watched her daughter Emily chase iridescent butterflies from Proximub, their wings catching starlight as they danced through the artificial breeze. "Mama, look, they're singing." Emily's laughter echoed across the garden as the butterflies emitted soft chimes with each wing beat. Other alien children, drawn by her joy, gathered around. A young Centaurian with crystalline skin that sparkled like diamonds, a Proximan child whose fur changed colors to match Emily's blue dress, even a young Andromedian, their tentacles swaying in patterns that translated to pure delight. Sarah checked her datapad, noting the time. The Grand Summit would begin in 30 minutes. Earth's first official participation in galactic politics had to go perfectly. Humanity had fought hard for this moment, proving themselves worthy despite their primitive status. The datapad chimed, displaying viewing statistics. 3 billion humans were watching the live broadcast. Nearly every screen on Earth had tuned in to witness history. 5 more minutes, Emily, Sarah called out. Her daughter nodded, still entranced by her new alien friends. The garden's beauty almost made Sarah forget the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. Almost. Movement caught her eye. A delegation of Rocky entered the garden, their ceremonial armor gleaming under the triple suns. Sarah frowned. The militant species had vocally opposed Earth's inclusion in galactic affairs, claiming humans were too unpredictable, too dangerous to join civilized society. The Vraki moved with precision, their formation too tight for a casual garden visit. Sarah's diplomatic training screamed that something was wrong. "Emily, come here, sweetheart." Emily turned, still holding hands with the Centaurian child. Her smile could light up the darkest corners of space. "But Mama, we're playing." The Vraki leader raised his arm. Sarah's blood froze as she recognized the weapon disguised as ceremonial armor. She sprinted forward, but the distance felt infinite. "This is the price of human arrogance," the Vraki's translator boomed across the garden. 3 billion humans watched in horror as the beam struck. Emily's smile never faltered. She didn't have time to understand what was happening. The Centaurian child screamed, their crystalline form shattering from the weapon's backblast. The broadcast continued for exactly 30 seconds afterward, long enough to capture Sarah's anguished cry, long enough to record the Vraki's proclamation about humanity's unfitness for galactic society, long enough for every human watching to burn every detail into their memory. The garden's automated systems activated, filling the air with suppression foam. Medical drones swarmed in, their sensors registering only one terminated life sign. The Vraki delegation had already retreated behind a shield wall of diplomatic security. In Mission Control Houston, screens cracked under clenched fists. In Beijing's Space Command, teacups shattered on floor. In Moscow's Orbital Defense Center, chairs crashed against walls. In the European Space Agency's headquarters, decades-old monitors sparked from tears falling on keyboards. But no one spoke. No one screamed. No human ship in orbit sent any transmission. No Earth defense platform powered up its weapons. The galaxy waited for humanity's rage. They received silence. A silence that felt like the moment before a supernova. A silence that made even the most ancient species remember primal fears. A silence that would be remembered as the last moment of the old galactic order. The last message transmitted from Earth, sent on all frequencies in plain text, read simply, "We trusted you." Then every human station, ship and satellite went dark. The galaxy had expected savage fury from the primitive species. They would learn that human wrath was something far more terrible. It was calculated. Admiral James Chen stared at the blank screens in the strategic command bunker beneath Geneva. His granddaughter's smile haunted every darkened monitor. Beside him, representatives from every spacefaring nation sat in complete silence. No accusations, no arguments, no posturing. Just purpose. All civilian ships have returned to Earth orbit, General Santos reported, her voice steady despite the tears that had dried on her cheeks. Final vessel confirmed docked at Luna Base. We are dark. The Prometheus Protocol had existed since humanity's first contact with alien life, a contingency plan that many had dismissed as paranoid. Now, as Earth's orbital arrays powered down and stealth systems engaged, that paranoia proved prescient. In high orbit, the galaxy's diplomatic fleet demanded answers. Their transmissions went unanswered. Sensor probes found only empty space where human installations had been moments before. Earth's atmosphere became opaque to their scans, a feat their scientists had deemed impossible for such primitive technology. Chinese quantum arrays are complete, Premier Liu announced. Russian deep space networks are synchronized. European orbital platforms are in position. American defense grids are integrated. She paused, hand steady on the steel table. We are unified. The words carried weight beyond their meaning. For the first time in human history, every major power had aligned without hesitation. Old rivalries meant nothing now. They had all watched. They had all seen. They had all remembered. Director Raman of the Global Intelligence Network stepped forward, holographic displays illuminating around him. The Vraki made 3 critical mistakes. First, they assumed our technology matched our public capabilities. The displays showed schematics of ships and weapons far beyond what Earth had revealed to the galactic community. Second, they thought our divisions made us weak. Another display showed the unprecedented cooperation between nations, resources, and technologies being shared without reservation. But their final mistake. Raman's voice carried an edge sharp enough to cut steel. They thought we would react like them, with immediate, blind rage. Admiral Chen stood, his movement drawing all eyes. The Vraki military runs on logic. Their strategies are perfect, proven over millennia of warfare. He touched a control, and a new hologram appeared, Emily, captured in a moment of laughter from just days before. They expect us to attack in anger, to throw our ships against their defenses in a futile display of primitive vengeance. His fingers passed through the hologram. They don't understand that humans are most dangerous when we go quiet. In orbit, alien sensors detected no unusual activity. Earth's night side showed normal city lights. Day side reflected expected solar radiation. Everything appeared normal. They couldn't detect the quantum computations running through repurposed gaming networks. Didn't notice the viral code threading through their communication systems, written by teenagers with too much talent and too much grief. Had no way of knowing that every human with a computer had volunteered their processing power to a single purpose. The galaxy thought Earth had gone silent in submission. They would learn. In the bunker, Admiral Chen gave the order that would change the galaxy forever. Execute Phase 1. Across Earth, hidden servers powered up. Dormant programs awakened. Networks that had been gathering data since first contact began their analysis. The Vraki had extensive experience with warfare. They knew how to counter rage, how to defeat fury, how to break those who attacked in blind anger. But they had never faced an enemy who responded to an atrocity with absolute, calculating silence. They were about to learn why humans were the only species whose stories warned. Beware the quiet ones. Maya Singh sat in her bedroom in Mumbai, surrounded by screens showing alien code. At 16, she'd won every hacking competition Earth offered. Now, her talents served a greater purpose. Her fingers danced across haptic interfaces as she probed the Vraki defense network. Found something interesting. She transmitted to the global team. Their quantum encryption has a rhythm, like music. Across the planet, millions of networked computers processed her observation. The Vraki prided themselves on their perfect, logical systems, but they had never faced human pattern recognition, never understood how a species that created art could see beauty even in computer code. In his Moscow apartment, Dmitry Volkov paused his analysis of Vraki targeting systems. They built their entire network on mathematical perfection. No randomness. The old programmer smiled. They never considered that chaos could be a feature, not a bug. The first digital strike came not as a brute force attack, but as a symphony of carefully orchestrated chaos. Human-written algorithms, purposefully imperfect, slipped through gaps in alien logic. The Vraki's quantum computers, designed to find optimal solutions, encountered human code that embraced suboptimal paths. Their systems crashed trying to understand it. On the Vraki homeworld, defense ministers watched in horror as their supposedly impenetrable networks began acting strangely. Military satellites broadcast ancient Earth lullabies. Targeting computers identified their own ships as enemies. Base commanders received orders written in Earth children's rhymes. Impossible, the Vraki chief of defense proclaimed. Their technology is primitive. Their methods are illogical. In the Geneva bunker, Director Rahman watched the chaos unfold across galactic networks. The Vraki built perfect systems, he observed. But humans, we built resilient ones. We learned digital warfare by fighting each other. Our networks evolved through constant conflict. Maya's voice came through the command channel. Sir, we've accessed their historical archives. Uploading to the Ghost Network now. The Ghost Network, billions of linked computers on Earth, each contributing processing power to break alien encryptions. Gaming rigs repurposed into quantum processors. Smartphones forming the largest distributed computing system ever created. Every human with a device had volunteered its use. The Vraki never imagined that primitive technology, linked by human ingenuity, could match their quantum systems. They had expected a direct assault. Instead, they faced a digital ghost, a phantom that turned their own perfect systems against them. Second phase complete, Dmitry reported. Their targeting systems are compromised. Defense grids are recognizing friendly ships as hostile. In orbit around Earth, alien sensors still detected nothing unusual. But across the galaxy, the Vraki military machine began to falter. Their perfect coordination became their weakness as compromised systems spread false data through their networks. Maida's fingers paused over her keyboard. On one screen, she'd found personnel files from the Galactic Summit. The Vraki who had fired the weapon. The ones who had planned it. Their entire chain of command. Send it, Director Rahman ordered. Send it to every screen in the galaxy. The truth spread like a virus through compromised networks. The planned cruelty. The calculated effect. The Vraki's attempt to prove humanity's savagery had instead revealed their own. In the Geneva bunker, Admiral Chen watched the digital chaos unfold. Conventional wisdom says never to interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake. He touched the hologram of Emily, still floating above the command table. But we're not just interrupting their mistakes. We're showing them ours were intentional. The Vraki had expected a primitive response to their atrocity. Instead, they faced an enemy who had turned imperfection into a weapon, chaos into a strategy, and their own perfect systems into a vulnerability. They were learning that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in our technology. It was in our creativity. Captain Elena Rodriguez watched the asteroid belt's endless dance through her flagship's observation deck. Behind her, the crew of the Spirit of Sarah worked in focused silence. They had trained for years in secret for a moment they hoped would never come. Stealth systems nominal, her XO reported. The belt's electromagnetic interference is masking our signature exactly as planned. The Vraki sensors still read this sector as uninhabited. Elena nodded, remembering the day she'd been recruited for this project. The public thought humanity had barely mastered interplanetary travel. They never suspected that deep in the asteroid belt, engineers had been combining stolen alien tech with human ingenuity for over a decade. All ships report ready, Captain. Communications announced. Admiral Hassan's orders are confirmed. Operation Lighthouse is go. Elena touched the ship's namesake plaque, dedicated to a child she'd never met. Deactivate stealth fields. Light them up. Across 100 kilometers of space, electromagnetic shields powered down. Where sensors had detected only tumbling rocks, 70 warships now hung in perfect formation. Their hulls gleamed with a metal that hadn't existed on Earth 5 years ago, shapes that alien engineers had declared impossible to build. On the bridge of the flagship Thermopylae, Admiral Hassan watched tactical displays light up with confirmation signals. Each ship bore a name from Earth's history: Normandy, Salamis, Marathon, Agincourt. Battles where the underestimated had triumphed through cunning and determination. The Vraki defense fleet has detected us, Tactical reported. They're scrambling to respond. Their formations indicate they expect us to follow standard galactic combat doctrine. Asen allowed himself a small smile. Show them how humans fight. The fleet moved in patterns that defied conventional space combat wisdom. Ships paired up in ways that alien tactical computers dismissed as suicidal, only to execute maneuvers that turned asteroid debris into weapons. Human pilots, trained in simulator games before being recruited, performed moves that alien crews had never imagined possible. On the Spirit of Sarah, Elena watched her crew execute their roles with precision. The ship's hybrid technology sang beneath her feet, alien power systems, married to human engineering that valued redundancy over perfection. When a Vraki cruiser targeted them with an ion cannon, her helmsman rolled the ship in a manner that every alien tactical manual declared impossible. They're trying to predict our attack patterns, her XO reported with grim satisfaction. Their combat AI can't establish a baseline because we're not following any known doctrine. That's because we're not using one, Elena replied. Every captain in this fleet is authorized to think for themselves. Show them what human creativity looks like in combat. The Vraki fleet's perfect formation began to break. Their ships, commanded by AIs trained on millennia of conventional tactics, couldn't adapt to an enemy that treated space combat like a three-dimensional chess game played with constantly changing rules. Admiral Hassan's voice carried across all fleet channels. Remember your training. Remember why we fight. But most importantly, remember that we're not here for blind revenge. We're here for justice. The battle unfolded like a deadly dance through the asteroid belt. Human ships moved with seemingly reckless abandon, but every chaotic maneuver served a purpose. The Vraki found their tactical advantage stripped away not by superior technology, but by an enemy that turned unpredictability into a weapon. On the Spirit of Sarah's bridge, Elena watched their first victory unfold. The Vraki wouldn't just learn about humanity's hidden strength today. They would learn that humans had spent years preparing not for war, but for justice. They would learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't our ships or our technology. It was our capacity to plan, adapt, and evolve. Commander Marcus Jong led his team through the maintenance tunnels of the Vraki space station, their modified mining suits humming quietly in the artificial gravity. Standard military doctrine claimed these passages were too narrow for combat operations. Standard doctrine hadn't counted on human determination. Reading elevated toxin levels, his suit's AI reported. Environmental hazards exceed safe parameters for most species. Marcus smiled behind his rebreather. Good thing we're not most species. His team had trained and retrofitted deep-sea mining equipment, chosen because it could be modified to withstand almost any environment. While the Vraki relied on perfectly engineered military hardware, humans had learned to adapt industrial equipment for combat. Target point ahead. Lieutenant Sarah Chen whispered over the comm. Sarah had volunteered for this mission. The moment she learned her cousin Emily's killer was on this station. Now she moved like a ghost. Her mining suit's sensors reprogrammed to detect Vraki life signs through walls. The station's central control room loomed ahead, its defenses designed to repel attacks from main corridors. No one had considered the maintenance shafts a threat. They were officially classified as unsurvivable for organic beings. In orbit above them, the battle continued. Human ships performed maneuvers that made alien tactical officers stare in disbelief. The Vraki flagship's combat AI crashed trying to predict attack patterns that changed with seemingly random precision. They still think we're fighting a conventional war. Admiral Hassan's voice crackled through the fleet's encrypted channel. Show them how humans adapt. Mining lasers, repurposed for warfare, cut through hull plating in patterns that confused enemy damage control systems. Cargo ships, their holds converted into drone carriers, released swarms of autonomous fighters programmed with video game algorithms that no military AI could predict. On the station, Marcus's team reached their target. Remember, he transmitted to his squad, "We're not here for revenge. We're here to reveal the truth." Sarah nodded, her hand steady on her modified mining tool. For Emily. For justice. The control room's rear access panel yielded to human ingenuity. Critical systems were routed through maintenance overrides that the Vraki had deemed too inefficient to monitor. Inside, Vraki officers froze at the sight of human figures emerging from lethal maintenance tunnels. "Impossible," the station commander declared. "Our sensors showed no life signs in those passages." "You assumed we'd think like you," Marcus replied, his voice carrying through his suit's speakers. "That we'd only use purpose-built military equipment. That we'd follow conventional tactical doctrine." Sarah stepped forward, connecting a quantum drive to the station's mainframe. Across the galaxy, screens lit up with data stolen from Vraki's secure networks. The full conspiracy behind Emily's death played out for every species to witness. In the Geneva bunker, Admiral Chen watched the operation unfold. The Vraki thought their greatest advantage was technological superiority, he observed. They never understood that humanity's strength lies in our ability to adapt. The evidence spread across galactic networks. The Vraki's plan to keep humanity contained. Their fear of a species that evolved not toward specialization, but toward adaptability. Their fatal mistake in believing that technological advancement equaled civilization. On the station, Marcus's team secured their objectives without firing a shot, their presence alone. Surviving in unsurvivable conditions, reaching unreachable locations, sent a message more powerful than any weapon. The galaxy was learning that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't our technology or our tactics. It was our refusal to accept limitations, our ability to turn disadvantages into strengths, our determination to find a way forward, no matter the obstacles. The Vraki had thought they were dealing with primitives. They were learning they had awakened something far more dangerous. A species that had evolved to overcome the impossible. The Vraki fortress world of Karis loomed before the human fleet, its orbital rings bristling with defenses that had repelled invaders for 10,000 years. In the command center beneath its crystal spires, the Vraki High Command watched approach vectors with confidence born of centuries of victory. "Their fleet is too small to breach our defenses," the defense minister declared. "Even their unusual tactics cannot overcome pure mathematical advantage." On the bridge of the Spirit of Sarah, Captain Elena Rodriguez studied the same tactical display with different eyes. Where the Vraki saw impregnable defenses, she saw patterns, opportunities. "Begin Operation Stormdancer." Admiral Hassan's voice carried across the fleet network. "Show them what happens when humans have time to prepare." The first surprise came not from the warships, but from civilian vessels that had been quietly visiting Karis for years. Terraforming ships, their massive hulls designed to reshape atmospheres, activated modified systems that no one had thought to monitor. Karis's perfect atmosphere began to change. In the fortress's command center, alarms blared. "Impossible. They've weaponized terraforming technology." The second surprise emerged from the asteroid belt mining operations that humans had established decades ago. Hundreds of mining drones, their simple AI replaced with gaming algorithms, swarmed from hidden bays. They didn't attack the fortress. They attacked the space between defense platforms, their mining lasers creating a debris field that played havoc with targeting systems. "Multiple hull breaches detected," Elena's tactical officer reported. Commander Zhang's teams are inserting through the maintenance networks. Deep within the fortress, Marcus Zhang led his squads through conduits that the Vraki had deemed too hazardous for organic life. Their modified mining suits, now tested in combat, kept them alive in conditions that should have been lethal. "They're falling back to the inner sanctum," Sarah Chen reported from her position. "Just like we predicted. Pride makes them predictable." The Vraki commanders retreated deeper into their fortress, confident in defenses that had never failed. They didn't realize that every human ship, every modified drone, every adapted mining suit was broadcasting a signal. Individually, these signals were meaningless. Together, they formed something new. Quantum network established. Maya Singh's voice came through from Earth. "We're inside their systems, activating protocol lightning." Throughout the fortress, screens flickered to life, not with tactical data or defense readouts, but with images. A young girl playing with alien children in a garden. The moment before a weapon fired, the faces of those responsible. The truth, broadcast across every channel. The Vraki High Command watched in horror as their own secure files played across the screens. The carefully planned atrocity. The calculated effect. The expected response that had proven so devastatingly wrong. "You thought we would attack blindly." Admiral Hassan. The great hall of the Galactic Council fell silent as Ambassador Sarah Chen stepped onto the speaking platform. Above her, representatives from 1,000 worlds watched. The evidence of the Vraki conspiracy had shaken the foundations of galactic society. "You expected us to destroy them," she began, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "To answer death with death, pain with pain." Her eyes swept the chamber, meeting alien gazes. "Instead, we demand justice." The Vraki leaders sat in the defendant's box, their ceremonial armor replaced with simple robes. Behind them, screens displayed the evidence that human ingenuity had uncovered. Years of planning, calculated cruelty. A conspiracy born of fear. "My daughter Emily loved butterflies," Sarah continued. "The day she died, she was playing with children from across the galaxy. She saw no differences, no threats, only new friends to make." Her hands gripped the podium. "That is what the Vraki feared. Not our weapons, not our technology. They feared our ability to adapt, to change, to grow." Admiral Chen watched from Earth's section, his military uniform replaced with formal diplomatic attire. Around him, the other human representatives sat in unified silence. They had proved their strength. Now they would prove their wisdom. "We could have destroyed the Vraki homeworld." Sarah's voice carried through the hall. "Our fleet stood ready. Our weapons were armed. Instead, we chose a different path." She gestured to the evidence screens. "We chose to reveal truth, to seek justice under law, to show that civilization isn't measured by technological advancement, but by how we treat those who cannot defend themselves." The Galactic Council's Chief Justice leaned forward. "The evidence is compelling, Ambassador Chen. What justice does humanity seek?" Sarah touched a control, and new images filled the screens. Children from across the galaxy playing together, alien students in Earth schools, human teachers in extraterrestrial universities. "We propose the Children's Accord," she announced. "A new galactic law that makes the protection of all young sentients our highest priority. No more will political conflicts be waged through innocent lives." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Vraki delegates shifted uncomfortably as Sarah continued. "The Vraki leadership will face trial under galactic law. But their people, their children, will be protected. We'll establish exchange programs, cultural missions, because the best way to overcome fear is through understanding." Admiral Chen stood, adding his voice. "Humanity enters the galactic community not as conquerors, but as guardians. We've proved we can fight. Now let us prove we can build." The council chambers erupted in discussion. Species that had dismissed humans as primitives now saw something different. Not just technological advancement hidden behind a facade of simplicity, but wisdom tempered by strength. "My daughter died bringing species together." Sarah's voice cut through the noise. "Let her legacy be not revenge, but reconciliation. Not destruction, but protection." The vote was unanimous. The Children's Accord became galactic law. The Vraki conspirators would face justice, but their society would be given a chance to evolve, to learn, to grow beyond their fear. In the Geneva bunker, now transformed into a coordination center for the new Accord, Emily's hologram still danced with her alien friends. But now it symbolized not loss, but hope. Humanity had shown the galaxy that true civilization isn't built on perfect systems or superior technology. It's built on the wisdom to know when not to use them, on the strength to choose justice over vengeance, on the courage to reach out to those who once feared you. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest power wasn't in our ability to wage war. It was in our capacity to forge peace. The memorial garden stretched across the new Galactic Council station, Dawn's Promise, its transparent dome offering a view of Earth rising over the lunar horizon. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood before a holographic fountain, where butterflies made of light danced through the spray, their wings chiming softly just as Emily had described years ago. The first exchange students arrive tomorrow, Admiral Chen said, joining his daughter. He wore the new uniform of the Galactic Guardians, an organization born from humanity's promise to protect rather than destroy. Sarah nodded, watching alien and human children tour the garden. A young Vraki, part of the first generation raised under the Children's Accord, was explaining Earth flowers to a group of fascinated peers. Her translator chimed with excitement as she described how the plants followed the sun. "Did we do the right thing?" Sarah asked softly, touching the memorial plaque. "Sometimes I wonder if we were too lenient." "Look there," her father pointed to where Maya Singh, now head of the Interspecies Technology Exchange, was teaching a class. Her students included former Vraki military officers, learning how human unpredictability could improve their rigid systems. "They're using Emily's coding style now," he continued. "Their quantum computers run on protocols you would have loved. Her way of thinking lies on in their algorithms." Through the dome, they could see the spirit of Sarah, now a training vessel where human instructors taught alien crews the art of adaptive thinking. Commander Zhang's mining suit designs had revolutionized exploration, making hostile environments accessible to all species. The Vraki asked to name their new school after her, Sarah said, smiling despite the tears in her eyes. "The Emily Chen Institute for Interspecies Understanding. They're teaching their children that strength isn't about having the best weapons. It's about having the wisdom to know when not to use them," a new voice added. They turned to see Ambassador Krull, the young Vraki who had led her people's reforms. Her ceremonial robe bore the symbol of the Children's Accord. "My own daughter starts there next term," Krull continued, her translator conveying warm tones. "She wants to be a xenobotanist, to study how life adapts and grows across different worlds." Around them, the garden hummed with activity. Lieutenant Sarah Chen, now captain, led a mixed crew of human and alien officers on conservation missions. The quantum network that had once been used to breach Vraki defenses now connected students across the galaxy. "We received the latest statistics," Admiral Chen said, checking his datavat. "Interspecies adoption rates are up 300%. Cultural exchange programs have waiting lists decades long. And the Vraki's new open system architecture is being called the biggest advancement in computing since quantum processing." Sarah watched a butterfly of light land on the memorial's edge. Emily would have loved this place. She always said the best part about aliens was learning new ways to see the universe. The garden's ambient lighting shifted to evening mode, creating a sunset that would be familiar to visitors from any world. Earth hung above them, no longer isolated but central to a new galactic society. "We showed them something they never expected," Ambassador Krull observed. "That true power lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the choice to create instead." As night fell over Dawn's Promise, the memorial's lights created constellations from 1,000 worlds. At the center, a hologram showed a human child playing with alien friends, their laughter echoing through time. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in our technology, our adaptability, or even our determination. It was in our capacity to forge beauty from pain, to choose hope over hatred, to transform an act meant to prove our savagery into proof of our civilization. And in doing so, we had not just changed the galaxy. We had changed ourselves.